Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Actually, it's been a while. So yeah, I still remain Ike, and in this video we'll be having Iroleh Vincent, who is going to guide us, hold our hands on how we can deploy applications to the cloud. So this video is for total beginners like myself, not advanced beginners. So people who don't know what to do on the cloud, or who have not actually used cloud technologies. So in this video, Vincent will have to hold our hands, help us understand how the cloud works, and show us how we can deploy different types of applications or different type of websites to the cloud. So we'll be looking at how we can deploy static websites, full stack applications, and probably WordPress websites. So Vincent is actually one of the most amazing and passionate Microsoft ambassadors or partners that I know. So it's logical for him to deploy or show us how we can do this using Microsoft Azure. Okay, so stick back, enjoy yourself. So this is a class session, which means it's a recorded video for the class session. So if you didn't take part in the class session, this is your chance to catch up or learn along with us. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section while you enjoy the video. Make sure you follow along and code and do whatever they're doing in the cloud. Okay, yeah.
Some other time you can also do that. Okay, so our recording has started. So we'll go ahead and look at Azure in general, what Azure is, why you should use Azure. We look at Azure App Service, and then we look at how to create resources, and then we look at how to work with secrets. So your environment variables from Azure Key Vault as well. So at the end of the day, you'll be able to get familiar or be very comfortable navigating the Azure portal. You'll be comfortable deploying your applications to Azure as well. You'll be comfortable to know what resource groups are and resources are as well. So from the pool, before we conducted this workshop, we took a pool like which cloud platform we should actually discuss about. And from the results, I think Heroku actually came first. Then the second was Azure, and then the third was AWS. But then I went ahead to say, Ike, let's conduct an Azure workshop. And the reason for that is, so we could have gone with Heroku, but Heroku is just a PaaS, PaaS, a platform as a service, and just that's just the service. It's service it renders. It's just a platform as a service that helps you just deploy application. It doesn't actually have like a complex functionality or complex features like Azure or AWS. So I mean, I think Heroku is something you can actually just use within 5 minutes of just visiting the platform. Everything is like straightforward because it's just a platform as a service. It doesn't actually have all the whole cloud resources like software as a service and infrastructure as a service. You just have a platform as a service. But we'll still look at Heroku, maybe some other time, maybe next week. So we'll focus on Azure. So the question is, what is Azure? To get started with, so Azure is a cloud platform owned by Microsoft. Okay, so Azure helps you to deploy your applications, your any type of application you can think of. And it's not just application. Azure helps you deploy application. Azure helps you deploy infrastructure. And Azure also helps you deploy platforms as well. So Azure actually have like three main categories of services is rendered. One is platform as a service. Second is software as a service. And then thirdly is infrastructure as a service. So software as a service. So if you use Microsoft 365, where you have your Microsoft Word, Excel, these are like software as a service. Like just the software is on the cloud, and you just go ahead and make use of it. You don't need to install anything. You just have create an account. You don't have to worry about what is going beyond the scene, like the hardware is behind it. You don't have to install anything. All you have to do is sign up on the cloud, and you're making use of these softwares So that's like software as a service. So that's what software as a service actually means. So like you can go online, office.com, and you can access your Microsoft Word, you can access your Excel, you can access PowerPoint online. So that's software as a service. You're not installing anything. You're just making use of it. It's already installed somewhere in the cloud. You just go ahead and make use of it. So that's an example of software as a service. Then an example of platform as a service is something like Teams. That, Teams is like a platform, or even Azure Portal as a whole is also a platform. So the difference between like platform and as a service and software as a service is when it comes to platform as a service, like when you are trying to install, when you're trying to create an application on Azure and you want to make use of the platform as a service, you worry about the softwares, like updating the softwares and patching the software. That's updating the softwares, patching them. Why Azure takes care of the hardware aspect of it. Why in software as a service, you don't worry about the hardware or the software. You just make use of it. They update it by themselves. They give you the latest update. But if you're making use of platform as a service, you worry about updating the softwares. Why Azure takes care of the hardware aspect of it. So you don't have to worry about the hardware is running on. Just have to worry about the platform you're working on. And that's actually what we'll be looking at today, platform as a service. Like, so the application we'll be deploying to Azure today is an example of platform as a service. So we worry about our software we're deploying, maybe the Node.js application you're deploying or the WordPress application you're deploying. It's your job to worry about it, how it's, like if it's the latest update you're using, things you want to change, and all the rest of the things you need to change. So you worry more about the software that you're actually updating or uploading to the cloud. Why Azure worry about the hardware? So they take care of the hardware aspect. All you have to do is select the hardware you want. Like you rent the hardware you want, but you don't have to worry about hardware maintenance or updating your operating system. So Azure takes care of that. Why you worry about the code you wrote, and that's your job. Then the last service is infrastructure as a service. Okay, so this is where it comes down to you worrying about the machine and the software and everything in between, the software, the machine, the hardware. So you worry about them. So you worry about them not in the sense of you care so much about the hardware because you're not seeing it, right? It's a virtual machine kind of stuff. So you don't worry so much about it, but you take care of the kind of hardware you want to rent. I mean, like, what kind of CPU do I want? What kind of storage capacity do I want? What kind of operating system do I want to run on the hardware? So, like, you have some responsibilities about the hardware. So, more like choosing the things you want, updating the hardware as well. So, you take care of that when you are going for the service, infrastructure as a service. For example, is like deploying a virtual machine to the cloud. So, you worry about the virtual machine, the operating system, updating the operating system. So, that's more the things you worry. So the things you don't actually worry is the machine itself, like the physical machine. So it's somewhere on Azure data center, somewhere maybe in the US or other regions of the country. So you don't worry about the hardware in the sense of the physical hardware, but you worry about the softwares of the hardware. So like updating the hardware, the operating system, the capacity of the software of the system, and all the rest of that. That's the kind of things you worry when you choose infrastructure as a service. So that's like a snappy overview of the services Azure offers. And then the amazing thing about using Azure is like it's actually cheap, I would say. So why is it cheap is you actually pay as you go. So what that means is, for example, if you have deployed application to something like Hugo Host, a platform like Hugo Host before, a Nigerian hosting platform, right? The prices are there already. Like, so you choose your hosting plan. It's a fixed plan. They have their plan fixed there. Oh, this is how much we charge per month or per annual. So the plans are already fixed there. But when it comes to cloud platforms like Azure, it's actually a pay as you go. So what that means is you are paying for the resources you are using as you are using them. So for example, if I deploy a virtual machine to Azure, I only pay, in as much as the virtual machine is running. If I stop the virtual machine, they don't charge me. So that's amazing. So it's not like you're going to be charged whether you're using the service or not. In as much as you're no longer using the service, the charge stops. So I can actually pause a service. Okay, I don't want to, I don't want them to keep billing me. I can pause the service and I can, restart the service. So it's like a pay as you go uh, 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 payment model. So you pay as you use the platform, unlike being a fixed payment bills. So where you like, oh, this is how much we charge for this. So it's pay as you go, which is one of the benefits of using Azure. Another thing is it's owned by Microsoft. Security, you can trust Azure when it comes to security. They have one of the, so I think Azure is like one of the popular cloud platforms out there after AWS, no doubt. In case of popularity, AWS is very popular, then Azure second, and then you have Google Cloud Platform in the ranking as third. So all by Microsoft, backed by Microsoft, data centers all over the world. For example, you live in Nigeria and you have more of your customers in Nigeria. Now, I mean, when you deploy your application, you deploy it to a data center that is very close to Nigeria. So making sure that when your customers are trying to access your services, they will be able to access it quickly and easily. So that was like another benefit of using Microsoft Azure. And other benefits, when you learn about Azure, you stand the chance of getting, the skills as well, knowing how to deploy applications and all the rest of the things that Azure have to offer. So Azure offers a lot of benefits and a lot of services. You can actually cover in a day a lot of services, like thousands of services that you see inside Azure. But today we are going to focus more on the Azure App Services. And the Azure App Services actually helps us deploy applications to Azure, like your web applications, your API, and all the rest of that. So, first things first, when you want to use a particular platform, you have to sign up, right? You can only sign up to Azure by going to azure.microsoft.com/free. So I'll just go ahead and share this link on the chats. Okay, so you can always sign up on Azure, just start free. So they'll give you a $20 Azure credit. So which you can use for 30 days. So you can try their services with a $20 Azure credit. So this credit will help you to practice almost anything you like to practice. So the benefit is you can try new stuff on Azure with the 300 credit for 30 days. Deploy stuff and delete them after use. So because you don't want them to continually billing you, your service is running. So you can go ahead and try sign up and get a free $200 Azure credit. So once you have signed up and registered and verify your details, the next thing we'll do is to log in to Azure. So okay, to Azure portal, just go to portal.azure.com. So in Azure Portal, you'll be asked to enter your email and password. So I'll go ahead and choose my preferred email. My password is already set on my browser. So while the portal is loading, let's look at the first thing we'll be accomplishing in this workshop. So the first thing we'll be doing is to deploy a static website to Azure. And so I have this reference here of a very simple static website. You can go ahead and do that. So I'll just go ahead and share this. So I think I already shared this GitHub link right there on the chat. I'll go ahead and share it again. So you can have access to the resources that I'm using right now. So we'll be deploying this static website. It's just a very basic static website. I will show you exactly how it looks. Just a very static website. You just deploy it and see how it looks. So let me just open it from my local machine actually. Okay, so this is what it looks like on local machine. So it's just a very static website. So we'll go ahead and deploy this to Azure. So this is what the portal actually looks like. So it shows you the latest recent resources that you are making use of. But your own maybe look a little bit different from mine. I mean, the background could be white. I actually changed that because I love dark mode, so I just changed the theme. We can always change how you want to configure your dashboard to look like. Okay, so let's go back to our resource. So to accomplish hosting a static website on Azure, the first thing we are going to look at is creating a resource group. Then we'll go ahead and create a public storage account. Then configure the storage account, upload the website files, and then we will say also how to use CDN. So let's take that step by step. So the first step is creating a resource group. But then what is a resource group? So resource group, think about resource group like your folder. You know, in your computer you have your music folder where you can actually have, okay, let's say R&B. You cannot categorize your musics based on maybe types or maybe based on artists. So this is more like a way of helping you structure your resources. So you have a folder called music. Inside this folder, you have, let's say, album, or you have singles. You know, you're categorizing your stuff so that when you try to access them, it's easily for you to access. So that is just the same logical idea of Azure resource groups. Is they're logical ways of grouping resources. And resources are like, you know, the things you're doing on Azure, that are resources. Why resource group is like that bigger folder that you can now put all these things inside. So I'll go ahead and create a resource group. Because I have used the resource group recently, that's why it's here. But if you don't see, you know, if you just open your portal for the first time, you can go ahead and create a resource. No, don't do that. Sorry. Go ahead and create a resource group. Go to the search bar and type resource group. Okay. So you have the results here, resource group. Go ahead and click on resource group. So I'll be putting everything we'll be doing for the purpose of this workshop inside one resource group. So I already have like resources here before now. So I'll just go ahead and click on create. So sometimes the Azure portal, you know, could take some time. It's a little bit lagging sometimes. So if you have multiple subscriptions, you can go ahead and choose that. Like I have two subscriptions here: the Visual Studio Enterprise subscription and the Azure for Students subscription. I would have loved to use the Azure for Students subscription, but it doesn't enable me to use the CDN option on my storage account. So I'll just go ahead and use my Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. Then you give your subscription, your resource group a name. I just call it ICA workshop. So everything we'll be doing, I'll be putting it inside this resource group. The next thing is where you want this resource group to be, like the region you want to deploy or you want to create this resource group. So region is like a physical geographical location the data center is residing. Maybe East US, for example, maybe China, South Africa. So when you click on the drop bar here, you see all the whole regions that Azure have data centers. I think we have one in Africa as well, but I think it's in South Africa, if I'm correct. Yeah. So I think South Africa. Can say it, but that's actually South Africa. No, that's actually the only African region that we have here. So this gives you the whole regions where you can deploy your resource group, or you can create your resource group. I just leave it at the default East US. The next option we have here is tags. So tags are what they are. Just think about it like labels, things you can actually use to get to your resources easily. Okay. Okay. I don't think I need a tag here for me, not necessarily, but you can go ahead and add that. My resource group actually has a unique name. I called it ISCA workshop. So like it's unique. I can always look for it. We can always give your resource a name, a key, and a value. So like a name, and I can still call this ISA workshop. So tags are, tags. What tags are in real life? When you visit music platform, you want to download music, you have tags. They could be maybe R&B, hip hop. So these are like tags, categories that helps you go to a particular resources easily. So the same applicable here. We have tags. You can give it a name and the value of the tag. So the name here could be whatever you want to categorize it as. Maybe websites, maybe But I don't really think having tags here are necessary. But you can always leave that. It's advisable you use tags. Then you go ahead and review validation pass. If everything passed, you have a validation pass notification. You can go ahead and create your resource group. So this shouldn't take time. Yeah, it shouldn't. So you can go ahead and click on your resource group. So now we have a resource group called ISCA workshop, and there's no resources inside it, right? So let's get started by creating our first resource, which is hosting a static website. Okay, so I'll just go back to the home page, and on the search bar. So if you visit the repository I shared, I actually showed step by step how you can do that. So the first thing is to create a public storage account. So a storage account is a storage account that in Azure is a service that helps you upload so many types of storages, file, blobs, containers, tables. So this is just a way of storing stuff on Azure, right? You can upload any type of file you want. Files is a storage account. Files, your storages, your backups. So you can use the storage accounts for anything that has to do with backing up, saving files on Azure. And we'll be using it to host a static website. So because is a static website. So basically files, HTML files, images, our CSS, and maybe our JavaScript. So back to Azure Portal. On the search bar here, go ahead and type storage. So you have the first option, storage account. Go ahead and click on storage accounts. So we don't have a storage account yet. So go ahead and click on create. Let's go ahead and create a new one. So look at that, you can actually create a storage account to store up to 500 terabyte of data. That's like a huge sum of data you can actually save here in a storage account. So the same thing while creating every resources, you choose the subscription. If you have just one subscription, don't worry, it will always be default. So I'll just go ahead and choose the subscription I want this to be on. And so my resource group is in one subscription. So it's ideal that, if I have my resource group on a particular subscription and I want to deploy resources inside that resource group, they all should be in the same, subscription. The same thing is applicable to regions. They all should also be in the same region. So I mean, it's ideal or very best practice that when deploying resources to a particular or to one resource group, I think they should all have one region and one subscription. Or else maybe these resources are solving different problems in different regions. Then you can go ahead and deploy them to different regions. But there are cases where all the whole resources need to be in the same region to communicate with one another. So if like that's the case of what you're doing, then you should always make sure that you have your work. Okay, someone said I should please increase the font. So let's make sure you have your work. Okay, so I think it's big enough now. So let's make sure you have your subscription, your subscription for one resource group. You're the same thing with region. So choose a subscription, choose the resource group. We already created a resource group. So go ahead and click on the drop down here and choose your resource group. So we called our resource group ICA Workshop. So I'll just go ahead and choose that. They have to give our storage a name. I'll still go with the ICA. I'll not call it storage. Okay. The field can only contain lowercase and numbers. Okay, so we don't need special characters. So just remove this. Let me see if I can use camel case. Okay, it's not allowed. So I'll just stick to ICA storage. I can just go ahead and call it CS, just like that. Then the region, East US, I think that's exactly where we deployed our resource group, the default region. Then we have performance. Leave it as standard. I think for what we are trying to achieve, we don't need the premium performance now. Then you have redundancy. So these are another benefit of using Azure. So for backup purposes, so Azure have these options where you can select different redundancy, types you want. So what this actually means is, so if I deploy this storage account now to East US, like a data center in East US, beautiful, fine. What if something happens to that data center? Maybe there was a disaster in the data center. So I stand a chance to lose my files or my data if I didn't enable a redundancy type. So if you click here, you have the first option here, a local redundant storage. So this is just a single option. Like I want to deploy this. I don't want to have any second option. I don't want to duplicate my data to another data center in case of a disaster. This is not recommended if, in a real life scenario. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't just place your data or your resources in one data center in the region. So what happened behind the scene is when you choose a different region, so like this duplicate our data. So option with flyover capabilities in the secondary region. So this duplicate our data to another region. So in a region, there's what we call availability zones. So these are like data centers within a region. Okay, so let's say East US, you can have like 3 data centers in East US. So when I enable, let's say, the geo redundant storage, so what happens is my resource now, or the public storage we're trying to create, we have a backup in another data center within that region. So in the case of disaster in the primary region, we deployed our resource group. We have a backup in another region, so we don't, we are not losing our data. So recommended, unless you're just doing you're doing a test lab where you don't actually need this. But in a real life, always go with either the GRS or other options as well. Okay, so just go ahead and use the GRS, the redundant storage. Just this duplicate our data to one storage account, to another one data center. So we have our data in 2 data centers. So in case of disaster in one, you always have a backup to fall back to. Then we can go ahead to click on next. Even though we are going to leave all the whole options here at default. Yeah, just leave them at default. Both the networking, everything at default works fine for us. We are creating a public endpoint. Yes, it's a static website and we want people to access it. But if it's something that is internal, maybe to a particular people in your organization, let's say you're using Azure organization where you have particular people that should access this, or it's just something you just want to be there only for yourself, so you can make it private, so nobody can access it, it's just only you. But in our case, it's our website. We want the information to be out there so people can access it. Every other information we have here works for us. Yeah, we have our tags again. You can go ahead and enable tags. Can give this name, and the value should be storage. Sorry, is that the correct? Let me see. Okay, ISCA storage. So we can go ahead and click on review and create, run validation. If we are not missing any important information, validation will pass. Okay, so that's taking some time. So sometimes Azure portal could be lagging sometimes. So validation passed, we can go ahead and click on create. So I have the notification here that shows you the status of your deployment. You can also see that it's deploying right here. So this will take some time, some seconds. You shouldn't wait much time. So while we're waiting for that, I'll just go back to the next step we have to follow. So we have created a public storage account, fine. So the next thing is to configure the storage for website hosting. Okay. So at default, you can actually, start putting files, start doing backup and other things. There are so many things you can do with Azure Backup. I mean, you can actually do things like Azure File Sync that enables you to back up automatically from your data center to Azure File. But our main purpose here is to host a static website. So we have to configure the storage for website hosting. Okay, so your deployment is complete. Awesome. So go ahead and click on go to resource to take us to that resource we have created right now. Okay, so this is our storage account created. So the next thing we have to do is to enable static website hosting on it. So right here on the left bar, if you scroll down where you have data management, you have another option called static websites. Go ahead and click on that, or you can actually just type it and you get it easily. Static websites. Okay, so once you're in here, click on the enabled. When you click on enable, you have other options. So the first option is to choose your index document. So we are hosting a static website, right? So it's a static website. A static website has index.html, like the first entry point of our website. So if that's the name, ideally it should be index.html. So that's the part that is required to be entered here, the index document name. So that that's the first guy the file should see as the index file. So in our case, it is index.html. That's the name. I'll go ahead and enter index.html. They have another option here called the error document part. Even though we don't have that, but this is like your 404 error page. So if you have a 404 error page on your static website, so like when you have some logic, when people visit resources that does not exist, you can always return the error 404 page. So if you have that, it's actually just do that quickly, like a 404.html, and you can just go ahead and enter that page here. I'll just go ahead and enter index.html here too. But if you have a specific page for error detecting, like when things doesn't go well, when people visit other resources that does not exist on the website, you should always fall back to the error page. Go ahead and do that and enter that page here, or you can just leave it, blank. Or you can, if you don't have that, you can go ahead and put the index.html. So when people try to access resources that does not exist, they always fall back to the home page, which is the index.html. So once you have done that, go ahead and click on save. So that doesn't waste much time. So this gives you primary and secondary endpoints. And why it does that, remember we enabled, what's it called? We enabled redundancy in our, when creating our storage account. So we definitely have, we have our storage backed up in a secondary, data center somewhere in the same region we deploy it to. So we can access it with this, we can access it with this. So these like two different servers somewhere. So in other words, if something happens to this guy, we can always fall back to this guy. So that's just like the whole benefit of enabling that option. So we have like two options here in case there is a data failure. Mostly you don't hear about data failures in Azure actually, but you don't assume that some things won't happen in future. So, but just in case there was something actually happened and a data center failed, you can always fall back to your backup data center. Okay. So you can copy this. I just copy it and leave it on my clipboard. So we have enabled this. So the next option is let's see, upload the website files and folders using the Storage Explorer. Okay, let's go back to our portal. So once I've enabled this, go ahead and close it. We don't need it again. Go back to my resource. And here you have Storage Explorer. Yeah, under the first options here, you have Storage Explorer. I can go ahead and search for it as well if you're not seeing it here. But here you have your Storage Explorer. Though it's on preview, but yeah, we can go ahead and use it. It serves exactly what we want to do. So go ahead and click on Storage Explorer. So what we're trying to achieve now is to upload our files. And the file type we are going to make use of is called blob containers. So go ahead and click on blob containers. So when you click on blob containers, the very first time we enabled website hosting, just what we just did a few seconds ago. a new folder or a new folder or a new is a folder is being created inside the blob containers called web. So this is like your ww file, Apache guys, PHP guy, your ww file. Even in your web hosting platforms like Google Host, you have the ww file, which houses the index file, right? So this is like that file that you can now upload your things so that it can be accessible to the internet. So go ahead and click on that web folder. So this is actually the folder we'll be uploading our files, our static files to. Okay, so just to show you something, I'll open a new tab and I'll click Control O just to show you the structure of our static file. So here it is. We have two folders, one folder called assets, another one called images, and then we have the index file. Okay, I'll go ahead and close this. So for the first file, we are going to upload the file. It's just a file, it's not a folder, right? So the index file, go ahead and click on upload. There's another window that pops up here where you have to select the file you want. Upload. Okay, so that is uploading, and that has been uploaded. Awesome. So I'll go ahead and close this. So from our structure, the next thing we have is two folders. One is called assets, the other is called images. So uh, to do that, you have to create a virtual folder on Azure. And like you can't just upload the folder from your machine. You have to create that folder right here, and then you can now upload the files inside the folder the same way they should be. So we're going to create a new folder here called images. That's the name of the folder, images. So just clean this, call it images. Okay. So now we have a folder called images. Locally here we have the web and it's pointing to images. So anything we are uploading here now is going inside this folder called images. And of course you can have folders inside folders because I know our assets folder has a CSS folder inside it. So but let's go ahead and upload images, the files for this folder. So go ahead and click on upload. Then go ahead and select the files. So inside the images, we have just two files, the file icon and the logo. Go ahead and select both of them and click on open. So you have the two files here. Go ahead and upload. Okay, that was very quick. So this has uploaded our two files. I'll go ahead and close this window. So if I go back to web, you can see that I have a folder called images and I have a file called index.html, which is awesome. So the next files we have is our CSS file, and that particular file is inside a folder called CSS, which is inside another folder called assets. So to achieve that, we have to create a new folder called assets. Okay, click OK. So now we have assets, and inside assets, we have another folder called CSS. So I'll just go ahead and create that as well. So we now have assets, and now we have a folder called CSS inside it. So inside here, we can now upload our CSS file. So I can go ahead and click on upload. So you can see we are uploading to web assets / CSS. So go ahead and choose the file. Just go one step back, go into assets, CSS, then choose the file, me.css, open, and then I'll go ahead and upload that. And honestly speaking, I think we're actually done. Yes, we are. We are. So I'll go back to the web folder. Okay, so now we have assets, we have our images, and then we have our index.html. Awesome. Let's go back to the overview and see the files that we now have. And remember, I copied the endpoints when we make the static website, but you can always go back to it where you have a static website. You can go ahead and copy the endpoints again. I'll go ahead and open a new tab and I'll paste that endpoint. And we have our static website up and running. I mean, we actually done. Like, yes, we are, because our website is up and running, and you can share the link, and anybody can access our static website. So you can always make changes, like upload new stuff or delete stuff from the storage account as well. Just go back to the Explorer, and you can do whatever you want to do from there. So I think we have completed the third step, which is upload the website files and folders using the storage Explorer. So the next thing I just want us to quickly do, this is like a bonus to what we have done right now, is to enable Azure CDN. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with what's it called? Is it CloudFront? There's a platform called CloudFront. Uh, so these are like, okay, let me just use the general sense everybody should know, like Bootstrap. Okay, so Bootstrap have like so many options when you're downloading them. So you have CDN, where you can actually just make use of the CDN, or you can download two other options like the raw file or the 2 npm, so whatever option. So CDN actually stands for Content Delivery Network. You can still call it Content Distribution Network. So what it actually simply what it does is it just helps people to access their data easily from wherever they are. So in a very simple way, how CDN works is, if just like Azure have data centers all over the world, right? So let's say I'm living in Nigeria, okay, and my website is being hosted in USA, and the nearest data center to Azure data center closest to me should be the one in South Africa, because we are all in Africa, right? So that should be the one that is very close to me. So if I'm accessing our website, this website right now, that is hosted in East US, if I'm correct, yes, East US, and I'm accessing it from Nigeria. It's simple how that works. So it goes from East US down to me, right? The time it takes to go from that data center down to Nigeria is a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to do that, which is actually what happens when you try to access websites. It communicates with the data center you have, wherever it is hosted, before it gets back to me, from wherever you are sitting on. And what happens is, each time I want to do this, it repeats the same call. It does it over and over again. It go back to its US and serve me the data. But this is not always good when when you want to speed up your content delivery to your customers. And so that's why we have CDN, a content delivery network, or a content distribution network. And how CDN works is this. So because I'm living in Nigeria and this website is hosted in East US, if I enable CDN right now, and I want to access this website from Nigeria, the first time I'm accessing it, yeah, it's coming from East US. But once it arrives to my location, it looks for the closest data center in my region. So, so the closest here would be South Africa, because that's the closest country that Azure has data centers closest to me, South Africa. So what it does is it keeps a data. It's more like a copy. It's not like it's keeping it copies some of the data itself. It replicates the data to me in South Africa. So next time I'm trying to access this particular website, it doesn't go back to East US. Instead, it just goes straight to South Africa and returns the data to me. So that's actually how content delivery network works. So each time I try to access it, it doesn't go all the way from East US. Instead, it just checks closest to me, which data center is close to my region, and it makes a copy of that data to me. So each time I want to access it, it takes it back to me. So that's awesome. And let's see how to do that on Azure. So right here, go back to where you have the search bar and type CDN. You have Azure CDN. Go ahead and click on it. Okay, so we're going to create a new one. So create new, give it a name. I'll just call it ICA CDN. Okay, so that works. You have to select a pricing, trial. So you can see the different pricing and the things they offer, like a table of the different pricing categories you have here. You have Microsoft Standards, and Premium, Verizon, Premium, Standard Academy, which we're going to use. So if you click on View Full Pricing Details, you go ahead and see the pricing details, what they offer, like differences between them, and the one you think you can afford and choose. So I'll close this. You can go ahead and check that. But for our purpose, we'll just stick to the Academy standard. That was for what you're trying to achieve. Then the CDN gives you a unique endpoint that you can use to access your website. So it's doing that because it is not going back to the original server. Instead, it is just checking a copy it made. So it's use a different endpoint to access the copy that it has made in the region very close to you. So just go ahead and give this a name. I'll just call it ICA. Yeah, just leave it as ICA. So it has a unique endpoint here called Azure Edge.net. Okay, so I'll go ahead and choose my origin host name, and our origin host name here is a static website. That's where we want to get the files that we want to redirect to CDN. So go ahead and choose the one that has the static website in the brackets. Then go ahead and click on create. So this service is not actually free. Yeah, it's not free, and that's why I was not able to make use of it with Azure for Students subscription. So it's not a free service. I think you pay for it as well. So, but if you sign up to Azure for the first time, they give you 200 credits, so you can go ahead and practice that. So this will take some time to create. Of course, it will take some time to look for the nearest locations all over the world and make a copy in case people are trying to access it from those locations. So it takes some time to create. So let's go back to our procedure. I think that's the last option here. You can now access it after creating it. Okay, so it's still creating. Open my notification. So it's creating CDN endpoint. So it has successfully created CDN endpoints. Okay. So it's running now. So I just go back to the resource group here. Sorry, cancel. Okay, I'll go back to my notification and I'll click on the notification. Successfully created CDN endpoint. So this should take me to the endpoint overview. So here you have the endpoints that you can use to access your CDN. And of course, you can enable custom domain of, on it as well if you want to do that. So go ahead and copy this and let's see. Open a new tab. I'll paste this. This will not come up now. I know. Yeah, it will show me page not found, but everything is working fine. It's just taking time to populate. So let's give it some seconds and everything will be working perfectly fine. So while we wait for that, let's go over to our next workshop, uh, which is deploying a full stack, yeah, application built with Node.js. So let's see how to deploy Node.js applications. Let's try our endpoint again. Still page not found. That's fine. This will take some time to work. So notice our source is still up and running. Like we can still access it using our primary endpoint. We can still access it using our secondary endpoint because we enabled redundancy, and we can now access it also using our CDN endpoint as well. Let's see if that is working now. I'll just copy this again, open a new tab, and paste it right here. Still page not found. Yeah, is fine. We don't have a problem. Our CDN was deployed successfully, so if there was a problem, we could have seen a red icon here like a problem. So this is just taking time to propagate behind the scenes. So it does. Just give it some time. It will be working very shortly. So, but as we're waiting for that, let's go back to our Azure Portal Home. And let's look at how to create a Node.js application. So deploy a Node.js application actually. So I already have a Node.js application here. I'll just go ahead and open that. It's not an API actually. It's just a full stack app that is using EJS behind the scene and Node.js as well. So by deploying this application, we're going to learn basically three things now. Two things. One is how to deploy the application, and second is how to manage environment variables. Okay, so if you from every application, any programming language you work with, there's always a environment variables where you put your secret files. So this is what I mean. Like example is the file that always inside your .env file. You don't put this file to GitHub, right? Yeah, because they're secrets. They're meant for you alone, or maybe your team. So even if it's a private repository, you still don't push these things to GitHub. Actually, you don't. So it's private, and you don't just push it to GitHub. You don't keep it public. It should always be private. So I'll show you how to manage private, secret keys on Azure as well. Let me just show you exactly what this application is. It's just a very simple web app that shows you latest cryptocurrencies that is being released like every day. Yeah, so that's just what it does. So this was added 2 hours ago. So it just show you like every time a new cryptocurrency is being added from a coin market cap actually. So I like kind of scrape their website and get latest data and display it in physical UI here. So that's just what the application does. So now I just hosted it on Heroku, but let me show you how to host that on Azure. So this is applicable to whether it's an API or a React app, because they are all being powered by Node.js, right? So whether you're working with React, you're working with Vue.js, Angular, even though I think it's still the same thing. In as much as they all work with the same engine, Node.js, it's just the same process. But if you work always with front end, I always advise you use platform like Netlify. Yeah, I mean, they have amazing features there for front-end engineers to host their applications. I think one of the features I love about Netlify is they give you a build preview. Like when you make a new push request to your GitHub, like it's still on it's a request, like it's still on a different branch. They give you a preview of that branch. That's an awesome feature. I love that. So if you're a front-end engineer, you work with React, Vue, check Netlify. You know, you love their service. You know, it makes your life easier as a front-end engineer. But of course, you can always work with Azure. But you know, Netlify, this was built for a specific thing, which is to host front-end applications. So you should expect 100% or 99% all service of what you need as a front-end engineer. If you're working with front-end most of the time. So Netlify is cool. I think they also have CDN inbuilt on the platform as well. They have awesome services there. But before we go ahead, let's check our guy if it's working now. I'll just refresh this page. I believe it should. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's coming up. So everything is working perfectly fine. So we are able to create a storage account, upload static files to it, access the static files from our primary endpoint. You can go ahead and take the secondary endpoint. That will still work. And we're able to enable CDN. We can now also access our website using the CDN endpoint, which is awesome. And all these things are secured. Look at that. It has the HTTP protocol on it, which is awesome. Okay, so I think that's the end of this particular workshop. So let's go ahead and look at deploying a Node.js application. So I already have this Node.js application up and running. You know, you already created your application. So you're not looking at how to create stuff. Yeah, we're looking at how to deploy them. So I assume you already have your stuff and you already created them. Okay. So I'll go back to Azure. So when deploying, Node.js, when making use of app services to deploy applications. So there's a service called web. So on the search bar, just go ahead and type web. Okay. Okay, app service, sorry. So go ahead and type app service. So you have this option here for app service. Where is it again? App services. Okay, so go ahead and click on app services. So you're trying to create a new app service, right? So go ahead and click on create. So even though we can actually do this directly from, instead going to app service and trying to go to create, because this would still take us to a marketplace right now, if I'm correct, and I think I'm correct. So go ahead and choose my subscription. I'll stick to Visual Studio. I'll stick to the resource group we created earlier on, which is ISA Workshop. I'll give our application a name. I'll call this coin trigger. Okay, I think that's available. So this is a code. It's not a Docker container. So if you're working with Docker, you can go ahead and choose Docker container. Okay. So this is exactly where I want to show you that these steps are like almost the same thing. So if I want to deploy a Python application, the difference is I'll choose the stack. If I want to deploy a .NET application, I'll choose the stack in which my application was created on. So if you scroll down Java, you have Node, you have PHP. If you're a PHP guy, you want to deploy a PHP application, you go ahead and choose PHP. The version of PHP your application is running on. The same thing with Python and Ruby. So I think this is what Azure App Service supports for now. Ruby, Python, PHP, Node, Java, .NET. Yeah, that's the stacks they support for now. So if you're working with any of these stacks, it's just the same process. If it's a code, you go ahead and choose code. If it's a container, you containerize your application. You can go ahead and choose Docker container after giving it a name. So for here, we are working with Node.js. And I'm not really sure the version I used. This was 4 months ago. I think I can always check. Can I see the version from here? I think it should be version 11. I don't really know. I don't. I think it should be version 12. Not quite sure, but I think it should. It should be no 12. Then go ahead and choose the operating system you want to deploy uh, your application to. So this is an example of platform as a service, like we discussed when we started the workshop earlier on. You know, you don't worry about the hardware. You just worry about your application. That's it. Your code, your application. That's what you worry about. You don't worry about the hardware. You just choose the hardware, right? You choose the machine you want to deploy application to. So here is operating system I want to deploy my machine to, Linux, Windows. You know what works best for you, and you know what the application performs faster on. So you go ahead and choose that. So I'll be sticking to Linux, and then I'll choose my region. Okay. So East US, I think that's where we deployed our region, East US, if I'm correct. Yes. So the next thing we have here is the app service plan. So this is the hardware plan. Okay, just think about it like the hardware plan. So we're deploying a machine, right? We're deploying a virtual machine right now, but we are not worrying about the machine. We're just choosing what we want the machine to look like. So what I mean is the operating system, we have chosen Linux. Now we're going to choose like the capacity, okay, the memory, the space, the bandwidth that we want this machine to have. So that is exactly the app service plan here. So app service plan that in East US, if you go ahead and open the dropbar, so I already have a plan configured before now, but you can go ahead and create a new one. So when you click on create a new one, you give it a name, you know. So this is like I created an app service plan so that you know every time I'm creating something, I just want to make use of this particular app service plan that have the basic B1 storage, you know, that have a particular storage memory. Okay. But when you go ahead and create a new one, I'll just do that. I'll call this ISK and click OK. So now you have to change the capacity of the plan you're choosing. Okay. So we click on change size. Okay, so we're here. So you have different plans, different Linux plan because you choose Linux machine. So you're going to have different Linux plans. And so here we have the tests, dev/tests. This is more like a testing, you know, a testing service plan, you know, like 1 GB, and it gives you 60 minutes per day compute service. So what this means is, I think it runs like, okay, so every day, a day, right? So every day there will be 60 minutes pause of your machine. Okay, like it's under dev/test. So they're assuming you're not doing something that is production. So you're testing it. So it's like free. You're not paying for it. So this give you 1 GB of memory and give you 60 minutes per day compute services. So what that means is like every day there will be 60 minutes pause on your machine. You know, like for 60 minutes your machine will not be accessible from anywhere in the world. Okay. It's a testing application, so you can always use that. They also have another one which gives you 1.7 GB memory and a series compute equivalent. So this costs you 12.41 USD per month. Okay. If you click see additional options, you have other options and you see the prices and what they give you. Okay. This one is costing $24 per month, and all the rest of them. So when you click on any of the pricing trial, it gives you the features included. For example, the free one doesn't give you, it only give you memory and storage, which is 1 GB storage. That's the only thing it gives you because it's free. You're not paying for it. While the B one actually gives you storage, 10 GB storage, some memory. It also give you a Azure compute unit. It also allows you to customize domain, also buy custom domains on it as well. I just stick to the free one. Yeah, we don't want to do anything special here, so we just stick with the free one. It's a test lab that we're also going to delete after this event. So I'll go ahead and click on the F1. It's free, and apply. Okay, so once you have done that, go over to deployment. So we have deployment settings. Even though I love to do this after creating my app service, but you can always do it along the way. So you have continuous deployments. It's actually not enabled yet. Yeah, don't worry about this. We come back to how to do this. Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to the app service. So just go ahead and click on next monitoring. There is no much thing you want to see here. Just enabling application insights so that Azure can always give you insights on how your application is running, security, the things you need to improve, and all the rest of that. So you can always go and enable this if it's free, which I think it is. I think it's free actually. Then you have your tags. Important. You can always go ahead and add your tags, and then you review and create. So everything looks fine. So you can go ahead and click on create. So we are going to deploy from GitHub, right, to Azure. So that is good, so that when we make changes, we can always enable continuous integration. So we don't have to visit Azure every time we make changes, right? So you can always deploy to GitHub, and everything will be working perfectly fine on Azure, which is awesome. Okay, so this is creating, deployment is in progress. And so along the workshop, if you have questions, just be dropping them on the chat so that after the workshop we will answer all the questions we have. So this is like our second workshop, our second lab. So the third one will be on WordPress. So if you have any question, be dropping them. So we have our deployment is complete. So I'll just go ahead and click on go to resource. Okay, so here we are on our resource group now, and the next thing we want to do is to deploy application to it. So we have set up the stack, configure app service, choose the app service plan we want. Everything is fine. So the next thing we want to do right now is to do what? Deploy something actually to it. So to do that, on the left bar here, you have under deployment, you have deployment center. So go ahead and click on deployment center. Okay, so once you're here, choose the source. And our source is GitHub. So if you're making use of Bitbucket, you can choose that. If you're making use of GitHub, awesome. If you make use of local Git, so you want to deploy from your local machine directly to Azure, you can always do that as well. So for our scenario, we are making use of GitHub. So I'll go ahead and choose GitHub. Okay, so for the first time of choosing GitHub, yeah, you may have a different view now. So you'll be asked to log in and like authenticate your GitHub account with Azure. But I've already done this, before now. But you should see something like something like a window like this, where you just have to, log in your GitHub account and, you're able to access your repositories. So I'll just go ahead and select your GitHub token is updated and need to be refreshed. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. Organization. Just go ahead and choose my organization, which is my personal account. Then I'll go ahead and choose the repository I want to deploy. I can't remember the name, but I think it is coin something. Yeah, coin trigger. So I'll go ahead and choose coin trigger. Then the next option is your branch. You have branches in GitHub. So which branch do you want to deploy to production? So this is like the main branch, in most cases. But I just want to be sure it's actually the main branch that we have here. This was 4 months ago, so it should be the main branch and not master, right? There is the main branch. So I'll go ahead and choose the main branch. So it will actually show you the branches you have, like the branches. So maybe you are just deploying a particular branch of your application for testing purpose. That's ideal here. You can always do that. Maybe okay, it's just a test deployment, and this is what you're deploying. It's not the production. It's just a test branch. You can always do that. Okay, so I think that's all. So that's all. So if you want to advance, like do more of workflow configuration where you have other configuration like setting up continuous integration and pass text, all those stuff, you can go ahead and click on review file. Uh, but I think we have the basic things we need right now. So we have our GitHub connected, we have organization, we have started our personal organization, we have started the repository, the branch we want to deploy. So I think that's fine. Yeah. So go ahead and click on save. Okay. There is an option that I'm looking for. There should be an option that shows me continuous integration. Let me check on deployment slots if that the option is right there. Not here. Start. Okay, I can't find the options, but let me just zoom down and be sure. So I think we have almost everything up and running. So let's see if our application is running right now. So I'll just go back to overview, and I'll use the unique endpoints. So that's one thing about Azure. Azure always give you unique endpoint for every application you deploy, which is awesome. So I'll just go ahead and copy this and paste it in a new tab. I'm expecting an error, you know. I should have an error. I'm expecting one. So let's see if I should have one, but I'm expecting one because there's something I'm supposed to do that I have not done. So I'm expecting an error, but let's see how that works. So it is taking time to load, basically because it is still up, you know, configuring and uploading the data to us. Yeah, so this is not yet working. So when your configuration is not yet working, you have like an a web page like this. Like, hey, Node.js developer and all the rest. So depends on what happens. Okay, so let's go back to logs and see what we have. Okay, so I think our deployment is still in progress, and that is actually why our application is not yet working. So it's still under pending. So this will take some time. So let's give it some time. I'll go ahead and refresh. Okay, so we have our deployment. So deploying from pushed zip file. So this is still pending. So our application will still not work yet. So this will take like some time. Okay, so this is the option I was looking for, the sync option. Uh, I'll just cancel this for now. So let our deployment be successful first of all. Okay, so we still have one in progress. So let's wait for everything to be success. And along the way, if there wasn't any error, you always have the error right here. And like maybe it failed, it will tell you that it failed, but if it was successful, it will tell you it was successful. But then if you deploy the application and you have errors and you actually want to, be sure where the error is coming from, you can always scroll down to where you have logs. Okay, under monitoring, we have logs right here. Uh, I want to be sure it's under logs. Let me check that. Is either it's under logs or log stream. So this should like show you the, okay, not this. It should be log stream. Let's see. Yeah, so it's under log stream. So this should like show you exact error that is happening when your application is trying to run. Like the errors from the terminal. It shows you the errors and everything happening behind the scene. So let's see if this is working now. I'll just go back to deployment center. I think it's actually working because this is actually what I consult from the application. Scrapping data from Coinbase and yeah, everything is. I think it's working right now. I can see the. I think I have errors here, but that's fine. Let's see. Let's go back to overview and see if our application is working. Even though I still think it shouldn't work because there's something very important we have not done yet. So I'll go ahead and copy this again and open it in a new tab. I'm expecting an error. So because we have not actually added the secret keys. Yeah, so we have an error. Success false, there's an error. Even though it's not going to show us the error right here, but there was an error with this application. This is not quite user friendly, actually. So why this is what happening? Application is deployed, everything is working, but if you go to our repository, we have secret keys here. We have secret keys, which is our database string. So when I deployed this to Heroku, I added those keys. The database keys is private to you. People shouldn't be able to see it because I scrape data from coin market cap. I store in the database, and then I use it in the front end. So this is showing this error because there's an error. That's why this application is not yet working the way it should. So that takes us to learning how to manage, key vaults or secret keys on Azure. So I'll go back to my portal, and under settings, where we have what's it called, configurations. I want to be sure that's the option. I did this a lot directly from Git, from my VS Code extension. It's actually more easier to do from there. But let's see. So I think that's it. So under configuration, you have application settings. Where you scroll down to connection strings, this is where you add a connection string. So connections, these are like your environment variable. These are you add your environment variables. So I'll just go ahead and add mine. I already have it here. Uh, so I think if you add connection strings, it will still work. If you also add it as an application settings, it will also still work. So let's try that out. So I'll go ahead and use new application settings. So this should give us a name and a value, right? And let me get my strings. So if I'm correct, I use connection string as the name when I was creating the application. So I put the name. So like you know your variables, you know now how you named your environment variables when you are creating your application. So the string goes here, the value goes here. So I'll just go ahead and copy my value and paste right here. So I just paste it right here. I'll enable it for deployment slot settings and I'll press OK. And I'll go ahead and click on save. Yeah, so this will restart the application actually. So yeah, that's good. Go ahead and continue. Restart the application so that the environment variables can be loaded while the application is trying to restart. So successful. Let's see if our application is working now. So I'll go ahead and refresh this page and see what happens. And I'm confident that everything should be working perfectly fine now. Yeah, though it will take some time to refresh because we just made some changes to it. So that's actually basically how to manage environment variables on Azure. So under settings, configuration, you have new application settings. Just go ahead and click on add new, and put your keys and values right there. This is taking time. I'll just close this, open a new tab, and paste it again. Sorry. So I just copy this one more time, paste it in a new tab. And yeah, so everything is working now perfectly fine. So you have our coin triggered on azurewebsite.net. So each time you use the Azure App Service, it gives you the azurewebsite.net extension to the name of the service you give to it. So that is it. We have our website up and running, and that's it. Awesome. Like I said, if you have questions along, just drop it on the chat. And if you're watching this tutorial later on, if you have questions, you can also drop it on the YouTube channel where this tutorial will be, uploaded for people who are not active right now. I think we are done with this aspect of deploying a Node.js application. So if it is a React app, if it is a Vue.js app, it's not the same process because they're all being powered by Node.js. So it's the same process. You know how you do your stuff the same way. Just do your stuff, create your application, or it's still the same process that you can use to deploy React or deploy Vue.js application because they're all being powered by Node.js. And at the end of the day, the environment is just looking for the entry keys, like the package agency, the file is defined there in order to start the application up and running. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close this window. So we have applications working now. Okay, so I'll just answer that question quickly. Someone said, what if I don't want my application to have the unique Azure website? That's it. You just go ahead and configure a custom domain. So if you scroll down where you have custom domains, under settings, you have custom domains. You go ahead and buy a domain. So one thing I love about Azure domains, like buying domains on Azure, is every domain costs $11.99, like every domain. So if I want to buy .com, .net, .org, .co, whichever domain it is, it costs the same price, $11.99 per year. Awesome. And they give you free SSL certificates, and they give you free whose data. So they're like, they hide the data, right? So your data is not exposed to the internet, like who bought the domain, it's not exposed to the internet. So it's awesome service. You can go ahead and use, even if you don't want to deploy applications to Azure, you just want to make use of the Azure custom domains. Awesome. You can go ahead and use just the custom domains on Azure. Simple. But if you want to attach a custom domain right now to your app service, like the application we just created now, if I want to attach a custom domain to it, I just go ahead and click on custom domains, and you go ahead and put the domain name. So look at that. Just go ahead and first thing is enable HTTPS only. You want your application to be secure, and it's free. Like the HTTPS only, it's free. Like the application to be secure through HTTP protocols. Once you have enabled that, I'm actually going to disable this. Okay, I'm just showing how you can do that. So once you have enabled that, you scroll down. Where is it again? Okay, yeah. So I can buy a domain because remember we choose the F1 service plan when we are creating the application, which is a free trial. So free trial doesn't give me access to buy domain. So if I want to buy domain, I have to upgrade my service plan to either B1 or other service plan type. So if you go ahead and upgrade your service plan, you'll be able to buy custom domain from here. So but the free F1 plan is free, so it doesn't give you access to the service of buying custom domain. So if you must do that, you must upgrade your account to a plan that gives you the access to buy a custom domain. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and off this, and that's it. So there are other amazing things, like if you look at the app service, there's other things you can actually do here, but it's just beyond the scope of this workshop. But amazing stuff they can also do. You see your security, or diagnose and solve problems. If you scroll down to here, you have as it called monitoring. You have alerts, metrics. Azure gives you like overview of how your application is doing, if it is doing well, things you need to improve, and the rest of it. So this is like a platform as a service. So we are not worried. We are not concerned about the hardware. We're just concerned about our own application. If it's doing well, we're making changes, we're updating it. That's our problem. So that's why it's a platform as a service. Azure takes care of the hardware, and that's it. So like as you can see, I can always stop my application. I can always restart my application. So if I was using the a service plan that costs maybe $40-something a month, and maybe I want to start the service from happening throughout the one month, or maybe clients refuse to pay you as a developer. I can always just come here and stop the service, so it will stop. Nobody can access it until they pay you. Just come over and restart the application. It will be up and running again. So awesome. So I think we are done with this. So our application is up and running, and we can access that. And so we are done with deploying a Node.js application. So, and the last thing we have is deploying a WordPress application. So I just wanted to make sure that either you're a developer, like you code a lot, or you use CMS like WordPress, you can always do all this stuff on Azure as well. So I'll close this, and we'll also close this. So let's go ahead and see how to deploy a WordPress application. So back to Azure portal. I'll go back to the home page. Yes, okay. So does it continuous integration? So somebody asked a question: does it support a continuous integration if I update my project on my local machine and update my repo, will the project in Azure get updated automatically? So if it is a local machine, no. But if it's on GitHub, yes, it will be updated automatically. So that's continuous integration, right? So each time you just make new push to that branch, it gets updated, automatically. Then, but if it's a local machine, it's local machine now. I mean, like there's not actually internet connection, so you still have to. So if it's a local machine, that simply means you didn't connect Azure GitHub. You use Git local. So what happens is when you push it back, you still have to come to Azure and do the sync. If I come back to my portal here, I'll just go back to the app service. There was a sync option, even though we are using GitHub, but the sync option actually, like looks for the latest updates on the repository and pull it back to Azure. That should be under deployment center. So like desynchronize, like we're trying to resynchronize our updates. That's the option here. Like so when I click on that, uh, it will ask me, do you want to perform a redeploy operation? So this is like what you'll be doing every time if you're using a local git, because there's no workflow, right? Is a is local, is a local gate. Even though I'm not quite sure because I've not tried that and I've not tried that. But I think I have actually deployed application from local machine directly to Azure. Okay, and I'm not quite sure. Like I can't remember, but I think it's possible. Right? Yeah, it's possible. Like each time I make changes, yeah, it's possible. I remember it's possible. So when you deploy, so actually how I did that was I deployed an application directly from Visual Studio Code, right, to Azure. So there's an extension that helps you does that. And when you use that extension, that's actually the process I use now, not like from the portal. Then I use local Git, but I use the Azure App Service extension for Visual Studio Code, and I deployed an application, right, from Visual Studio Code for my local machine. It doesn't go to GitHub, directly to Azure. So what happens is it creates a workflow for me automatically. Like when it does that, it will create a workflow. It will create a new file, dot, something workflow that enables you, and it asks you if you want to enable automatic deployment. So like anytime you make changes and git commits, it will redeploy it to Azure. Yeah, so there's an option for that even when you're working locally. But I have only tried it with the Visual Studio Code extension. I have not tried it like Azure Git local, something like that. Okay, so I'll just cancel this. As I already that answer your question, you can try it out and see if it does. So experiment with that. So back to our home, and the last lab we have for today is deploying a WordPress application. Okay, so I think this is actually pretty straightforward when deploying a WordPress application. So Azure have a marketplace where you can always, get things you want. And the way to go to that is just to click on create a resource. You always have this create resource here. Okay, so when you click on create a resource, you have these options right here. Okay, and we are focusing on a web app. I believe it's a web app, right? It should be a web app. It's a web app. So WordPress is a web application. No, 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 no. My bad. So I'll go back. This is not what I want. So I think web app is a marketplace on its own that enables you to, deploy what we just did, like Node.js, Node.js.net, and other programming languages that is supported. That's actually web app. So what we actually want to type right here is WordPress. Just go ahead and type WordPress on the search bar. So we have so many WordPress options, but we just want WordPress. The first option we have right there, that's the one we want. So this is what we want, WordPress. So I'll go ahead and click on create. I'll get and choose my subscription because I want everything to be in the same resource group. I'll go ahead and choose East US. That's where I've been deploying all my stuff. So I'll go ahead and stick with that. Then I'll give this a name. I'll call this ISA, but this is not going to work. I think we have used this already before. Okay, we have not, so that works. So I call it ISA. Okay, you can go ahead and choose your tags. I can give it a name, and I can call it ISA WordPress. Maybe I'm going to work with so many WordPress under this particular resource group, and I want to tag every WordPress application with ISA WordPress, so I can always like filter the whole WordPress applications. That's actually the logic behind tags here in Azure. So I can go ahead and review and create. So before this doing validation, this is not, we are not yet creating. So you have option here, which you have your app service. So we're trying to create a WordPress application. It just follow almost the same procedure when deploying other applications like Node.js and because you're going to deploy it on a machine, okay? And this machine have to be a specific machine, maybe what's it called? A a Windows machine or a Linux machine that have specific capacities. So one thing about the WordPress on here is okay, a lot of things have changed here. Let me see. I want to see if I can be able to change what we have here. Okay, just give me a second. I will try this again. We'll go back. Yeah, I want to see. There should be a different option for what I'm having here. Unless this have changed over time. Like last time I did WordPress here, there was an option for me to choose the capacity. Okay, so if I type WordPress, let's see what we have. So we have different types of WordPress. Okay, but we just want to stick with the first option here, which is WordPress. Okay, let's see. I choose my subscription. I'll choose my resource group. So I think why I had that automatic plan service plan is because of I have attached a service plan to my resource group before now. I think that's why I have that, or because it's in a different region. Let me just see. I will just go ahead and give this a name again and leave it on Central US just to be sure. I'll go ahead and click on create and review. Let me see if they will give me the option to change the plan, because I should have the ability to choose a free plan. Yeah, I don't want to make use of this one. This is too costly. This is 53.29 USD per month. I don't want to do that here. This is not the option I'm looking for. So I'll go back. I'll create a new resource group here. Let me try that and see. I just call it WordPress group. So the reason I'm doing that, I don't want to burn my Azure credits on the tutorial. So $59, and I have like 100 and something dollar credits remaining, so I don't want to burn audible credits for the purpose of this tutorial. Okay, try the second WordPress in the options. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me just see. Let me just see if it's because of the resource group and the region. Okay, resource group actually. Let me just see. No, I think that is not working fine for me. So let me try what Sophia said. Okay, this is not what I want. Let me go back to creating a resource. It's because of WordPress I choose. So let me see. Okay. So it should actually be this one because it's an app service and oh, it's not free. Okay, these ones are free. Okay. So it was my fault. The second one, okay. So this works because it's free. I actually didn't I didn't see those free tags on them. So that is coming up. Azure Portal is a little bit lagging compared to AWS. AWS is very fast. Like the Portal is faster than Azure Portal. I have used both, so I'm sure other people are saying the same thing. Like it takes time to create stuff and all those things. Okay, I'll go back to choosing my subscription and sticking to our region. Okay, yeah. So this is the options I was looking for. So virtual machine name. So I don't know. This is like new. Maybe they make changes. Like there was always an app service that was free. Like I don't have to worry about the virtual machine and anything like getting a name. I just have to worry about the just the application and the size and everything. But this looks new. But this looks so new. No, this is not what we want. We don't want to create a WordPress that is running on virtual machine. We want to create a WordPress that is an app service. And like it's an app service. So I mean, so we can if you create this now, so this WordPress will just be installed on our virtual machine, and we have to do all the whole networking, stuff behind it in order to get it to the public. So this is not the option I want. So this will just go ahead and create a virtual machine and install WordPress on that virtual machine. This is the option that is here, but that's not the image we want to use. This is not the option we want to use. This is going to create a virtual machine, and it's going to install an image on that virtual machine. Like the image is going to be a WordPress 5.7.1. This is not what I want. This is kind of new. I don't know if maybe there was an update, maybe they don't support free app services again or what. But let me straight see. Let me see. Like this should be the guy we are looking for. This should be the WordPress app service that we're looking for. This should actually be the plan. But I'm coming. Let me see some other stuff. So WordPress. Let me see those other options. You know what? I'll go ahead and burn that credit. But instead of using my other subscription, I'll just use the Azure for Students subscription. I think I have like $100 credit there. So you can also sign up for Azure Azure Student credits. I don't. Let me get the link. Should be Azure Student credits. I don't know the exact link, but let's Google that. Whoa. What is this? Why are you guys showing me on a different lamp? Oh, my VPN has been on. I'm not even aware of that. Okay, let me try this again. So Azure for students. So they give you like 100 free credits when you sign up for as a student. I'll just share the link right now. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I can't make use of that resource group we have earlier on. Yeah, I can't. The reason I can't is because is in a different subscription. But I don't want to make use of the credit I have on that subscription because I have like production services running on it, that client dependent. So I don't want my credit to just finish because of the washout. So I will make use of Azure for credits, Azure for student because I have like $100 credit on it. So I'll just go ahead and create a new resource group here, and I'll still call it ISA. So the difference is living on a different resource group in a different subscription. So it can have the same name, but it's different subscription. So that can work. I can stick with US East. So I think US East is like so like some regions. Actually, regions are important. Like sometimes there are things you want to do that a specific region does not support. You know, so like I think there is they like app services that I China that doesn't allow you to do specific things when uploading data, like something like backup and all the rest of them. So, but like some regions, have some other benefits, like other features than other regions as well. And because of the security purposes. So I'll still give this a name. So that works. I'll go ahead and create and review. No, this is free. I mean, like that's what I was expecting. So this is taking time to validate. But since this is free, I'll just go back and select my. So this is free, and this is what I was expecting. Free, free. So why wasn't I getting it on the other subscription? I don't know, but I'll go ahead and use this. So this is free, it doesn't cost anything, and yeah, it just give me 1 GB memory. I don't need much of that, and I don't know why I'm having the username and password right now. This is kind of new. I think they made some changes. Like before now, you don't have this password and email here. But to be on the server side, I'll just copy these things and just keep them somewhere. I'll just copy them and keep them somewhere in case we need them along the way. Just copy them and keep them somewhere just in case we need them. I'll go ahead and create. Because I remember last time I did this, there was an option to select the kind of database type I want, but now they're just giving me a default database and giving me username and password. So I think this is kind of the main changes to the WordPress app service. I believe they make changes. Submitting deployment, so this will take like some time. So deployment is in progress. Let's wait for that. This event started by 11:10, and yeah, this is almost one. That's a very long one. So if you have questions, please drop them so that I could be answering them right away, so that we don't have to waste more time answering questions after deploying this particular lab. So if you have questions, just go ahead and drop them on the chat. And if you prefer to speak up, you can unmute yourself and also ask a question as well. So this will take some time. Yeah, it's ideal that it takes time. It has to deploy a virtual machine that you're not seeing somewhere. You have to install WordPress, do the configuration for you, and just make your life easy. So it will take some time behind the scene. So the same way we're able to enable CDN in our static website, you can do that for every one of your app services. Okay, yeah, you can enable CDN in your WordPress application, or you can enable CDN in your Node.js application. You can buy custom domains on your app services. It's all the same process, the same click, 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 and you are all fine. And so one thing I love about the Azure App Service extension, if you are like coding Node.js or React or whatever you're doing, you're working with environment variables, like you're adding new environment variables. You don't even actually need to come to Azure Portal each time you want to add environment variables. You can always do that from your VS Code directly with the Azure App Service, and it will update right here on the portal. So if you are going to be working with Azure, you need the Azure App Service extension. Just install it. It's pretty cool to use, and just straightforward. You will log in, you authenticate your account, and you have all your app services and resources on your VS Code, and you have your application settings, and you can now be able to update or upload new environment variables. And you don't even need to type it. You just select the file where you have the environment variables, like the .env file, and it will just update it automatically. Very stress-free. So this takes time. I don't know why WordPress takes time here on Azure. I think why is because it's doing like three things at the same time. So it's installing a virtual machine, is installing MySQL on it, and is installing WordPress on it. So it will take time for the whole process to run. Look, I think you're almost there. Almost. I think we're done. So there should be a success message right here. Let's wait for that. Oh, we are not done. So I think that's another benefit. Like you can do a lot of things here in Azure. WordPress, storage, virtual machines. Think about it. Anything at all. Uh, AI, machine learning. They have machine learning AI. that you can actually use to test, do your machine learning and AI stuff. Azure functions, they have Lambda functions, serverless architectures, a whole lot of amazing stuff. Yeah. So if you are so interested in Azure and you're interested, you want to go more deeper in Azure. So the first thing I always tell people that say they want interested in Azure is to start with the is a 900. Yeah, it's a 900. So it's an exam. It's an exam. It's a 900. This Microsoft Azure Fundamentals. Okay, just if you type is a 900 on Google is a 900, it will take you to Microsoft Learn platform. Uh, so just scroll down and you will see the learning part for that exam. Okay, so the learning part for this exam shows you, like teaches you about Azure, how Azure works, and all the whole things you need to know about Azure. That's why it's called Azure Fundamentals. It gives you an overview about Azure. And after you must have finished taking is a 900 learning parts, you can go ahead and schedule for the exam. So I think the exam costs, let me check for Nigeria. So if you're in Nigeria, it costs $55. So if you have the money, you can go ahead and pay and take the exam. But if you don't have the money, you can attend Microsoft Ignite. Microsoft Ignite is coming up next month. Next month, 2nd to 4th of November. I will share the link right now. So when you attend Microsoft Ignite, there are going to be free vouchers for you when you join the challenge. So I just find when you register, there should be there's a challenge link. I've forgotten. I'll look for it right now and I'll share it. So when you register for Microsoft Ignite, attend Microsoft Ignite, there's a challenge. There's a challenge channel. Like you join a challenge, and the challenge is actually just to complete a learning part. So like you have is a 900 learning part. If you're able to complete it within October 2nd to October 30th, I think it's 30th or 31st. I don't know the ending of October. Sorry, November. Sorry, I mean. So November 2nd to November 30th, right? Or 31st. Microsoft will give you 300% voucher to write the exam of your choice. So exam of the choice. So the learning part you'll be taking is the learning part of the exam you want to write. So if you're learning is the 900 learning part after taking it, that means if you sign up for the challenge, so they will know when you finish it because it will be showing your updates on your on your Microsoft Learn account. So when you come here, just go ahead and log in, sign in. You will see how to create an account when you sign in. See if you don't have an account, you can register for Microsoft Ignite so they can keep track of the learning part, and they'll give you free voucher to write the exam. So let me share this link, Microsoft Ignite, or you can go ahead and Google Microsoft Ignite on your Google. So Microsoft Ignite, and I also share the learning part to AZ900, which is Microsoft Azure Fundamental. Yeah, so the exam is it tough? I don't know. Yeah, I've taken it and I passed in my first attempt. So if you take the learning part, you'll be good. That's it. Just take the learning part, do the hands-on experience, and you can reach out to me if you need help. If you're taking the learning part, you want to take the exam, want to schedule for the exam, I can reach you to me. I can give you additional resources that can help you to pass the exam. But make sure you have taken the learning part first. It gives you an overview of the Microsoft technologies and hands-on experience as well. So let's go back to our portal to see if we are done. Okay, so deployment is complete. I'll go to my resource. So there should be a unique link here. So yeah, so I'll just copy this, open a new tab and paste it right here. So this should give me WordPress when you're installing WordPress for the first time. That interface. That's exactly what I should have right here. Yeah, so you're correct. So if you have worked with WordPress before, you know your way from here. You go ahead and choose your your language, continue, and your site name and all the rest of the things you want to do. Username, I'll just call it ISCA, a password generated. Fine. I'm deleting this now, so not that important. I'll just call this testing 3456. Yeah, it's weak, no problem. I know it's weak. Confirm weak password. I'll enter my email address. When I see the passwords, and that's it. So don't forget your username and password. So if you're working with WordPress, you should know what to do from here. Go ahead and install WordPress. So the benefit of this is like, so if you're a WordPress developer, that was very quick. Go ahead and log in. So if you're a WordPress developer, you can use Azure for free, to show your clients what you're working on, and they can review it and give you updates, give you, updates. You can give them updates, and you guys can synchronize from free until it's ready to go on production. You can just go ahead and what's it called? Buy a domain directly from Azure, and even upgrade the app service as well. So ISA password testing 12345 6. I think that's correct. Go ahead and log in. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. I'll visit my website. Yeah, so we have a website up and running. So that's it for WordPress on Azure. So another way to get free voucher for Microsoft certification exams is to attend Microsoft virtual exams. So just virtual events, Microsoft virtual events. So here, so when you visit that, you'll see event that is coming up. I already have Microsoft Ignite there. So look at that. So the fundamental exams, sorry, the fundamental events always give you 100% vouchers. So any exam that you have fundamental on it, we give you 100% voucher to write the exam when you attend the event. So just go ahead and register for the events. So if it is AI fundamentals exam you want to write, register. If it is Microsoft Azure fundamentals, register. If you have the Microsoft 360 fundamentals events, so any event that has fundamentals on it, always come with a free voucher, 100% free voucher to write fundamental exam of that event. So I just share this link as well. So if you're looking forward to get certified on Microsoft Azure platforms, you can go ahead and check all those links I just shared with you right now. Okay, back here to our portal. So I'll close this, close this again, close this. So I'll close this and this. So we're able to accomplish our task today. So one more thing. The essence of using resource group as well is, like for testing purpose. So like just like we have completed this workshop right now, I want to go ahead and delete all the services or resources that we did. So all I have to do is go to resource groups, and I can delete them all at once, because I'm going to delete the resource group we created right. This is the resource group. The same thing with this resource group, which is under the other Azure subscription as well. So I'll go ahead and delete this one. I'm not sure I can delete multiple subscriptions, so resources at the same time. So I can. So I'll go ahead and do it one after the other. So I'll delete this one first. So when you open the resource group, you have all the resources under it. So we just have two resource group, right? Okay, we should have. Let me scroll this up. Sorry, I can't drag this out. Okay, but you have resource groups. You have all the whole resource group we have under this resource group. Our Azure storage, our CDN, our what's it called? Our Node.js. So they're all under this resource group. So I can go ahead and delete it. Just delete resource group. So I don't have to delete all the whole resources one after the other. So these are all the resources we have under this resource group. So I just have to delete the resource group. So it will ask you to confirm the name of the resource group, which I'll go ahead and do. I just copy and paste it right here. And I'll go ahead and delete. Awesome. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the ISEA, the one that is under the Azure for Students subscription. So I just go ahead and delete the resource group. Just copy the name and I just paste it right here. So this is the one housing our WordPress, right? So we have MySQL database, because WordPress always have MySQL database. It's PHP, so it always work with MySQL. WordPress always work with MySQL. And then you have the server, and then you have the WordPress itself. So they are all inside this resource group. So I just go ahead and delete it. And that's a very straightforward cleanup. And that's how to work and deploy applications on Azure. So if you have questions, please go ahead and ask. But if you don't, we'll call it a day. And this video will be available immediately after this event. So any questions? You can actually unmute and tell me no. I just want to feel like I'm here with some people.
No.
Okay. So I think we have come to the end of the workshop. So thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye bye.